We'll start the meeting. It's Wednesday, March 19th. The video is going to be of my face, or not. There we go. Stop. All right. There's nothing to add to the agenda.
Yes, there is.
What are we adding to the agenda?
Executive session.
Oh, yes. We are going to do an executive session before the new business portion. And we'll move the select board seat discussion into that executive session. And then we'll come back, and everybody can come back if they want for town appointments after we do that. All right, first thing on the agenda is the meeting minutes from March 5th, 2025.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes from March 5th, 2025.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
Yeah, do you think we need to add anything about the library discussion? I didn't remember enough to add, but there was the concern that we didn't mention it in the minutes.
Yeah.
It was mentioned in the minutes.
It was.
What I read,
Just
what I
at the
read
very
seemed to be.
end, when we discussed
Future
what we were going to
projects.
do, future projects, that came up with.
And that's all the
That's the only
discussion
discussion that was,
Okay.
So I think it's in there.
it's in the minutes.
And that'll come up with the follow on the next night. So, any further discussion? So all those in favor of approving the minutes from March 5th, 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? So it is done. We did receive a letter from the library board about the meeting. We had talked about future agenda items and things we were going to discuss during the course of the year, and one of those things was the library. I think it was on the agenda, but I responded to Dave and just let him know we'll be more careful and make sure that if we're going to discuss library business, we'll make sure it's on the agenda and that they're invited. To which he responded, thank you. So that's been addressed. We have two warrants, warrant 19 and warrant 19P.
I'll make a motion that we approve warrants 19 and 19P.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion on those? 19 is the expenses for the town. It's $36,240. Nothing crazy in there. There's $2,700 for printing of the town report, which is obviously a one-time deal, one time a year. And the payroll is $12,254. Again, right around where it's supposed to be. All right, all those in favor of approving warrants 19 and 19P, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Next, visitors to town, public comment. Anybody have anything they want to say that's not on the agenda they want to bring up? No? You're on the agenda.
Oh, I am?
You're next.
Okay.
Bring it up. Come sit with us.
Okay, well, I'm going to start with a preface from Lincoln, who said, sometimes it's better to remain silent when you thought it would than to open your mouth and remove all doubt.
Right.
I was here some months ago regarding cutting down 2 trees at the bottom, the east side of my driveway, because I have to swerve people around them, and it causes quite a bit of anguish for me plowing, and not to mention the damage it's done to my plow frame. But that was decided that the town felt that it was okay as it is and to let it go. Skip ahead to a few months ago, just before Thanksgiving, and the guy that I have helped me maintain my property, I gave him a set of loppers and said, go down either side of the driveway, just cut down the saplings, the little bushes, because if I don't, the snow sticks in it and it just creates quite a issue for me. I've been doing it now for 25, 30, 40 years. I think I've owned that property for 50. So he's going along, and then he comes back up and said, you're done already? He says, no, the lady told me to stop doing it. I said, what lady? He says, I don't know, here she comes. So Liza Berg comes up to my property and says, you don't own that either side of your driveway. I own it, and I don't want you cutting any of those down. I said, you own it? She said, that's correct. I said, I was not aware of that. I thought the town owned 25 feet left or right of my driveway from the center line. And she says, no, you can only maintain the driveway. I was upset. So I called the state's attorneys general, got some advice from them, and then I contacted Salmon and Nostrum out of Bellows Falls. My attorney's Larry Slauson, and have done a lot of research on my end. Admittedly, you're not forewarned about this, about what I'm allowed to do and not do as regards that driveway. So I guess the first question is, who owns that road? Who owns the driveway? Was it, if you don't own it, if it was discontinued, I need to see a certified letter showing that I was forewarned that the road had been thrown up, because I never received it. So I need to know that. Second of all, where is the discontinuance order? Where does it exist? And I'm only doing this because otherwise you and I are going to pay a ton of money for attorney fees to get this all resolved. I'm hoping we can get this done amicably here and now, or in the near future. According to the Vermont statute of 1863, the town, you cannot encumber a rod and a half either side of the driveway. Well, a rod is 5.5 yards, so basically 35 feet width. My son went online, tapped into your Dummerston online services, and we have a picture showing what the town owns. It's a yellow strip that goes up my driveway, clearly much wider than the width of my driveway. So that's where we're at. But I want to interject one last thing, and that is called the Okemo Doctrine. You can read it yourself. It's only 50 pages long, so it's a real short read. But in essence, it says, and I quote, "A property owner enjoys a common law private right of access over a discontinued or abandoned road if their property abuts the road," which mine does. And here's the kicker. Furthermore, the property owner is entitled to reasonable and predictable access with, and this is the kicker, sufficient width to maintain this road. So I am trying to have you come to grips with the fact that Liza cannot prevent me from maintaining that driveway. If she owns the road, all well and good. But then but in the state of Vermont, you cannot have a landlocked piece of property if there's a dwelling. And since the town has already granted me a building permit, she cannot own, because otherwise she could just put up any kind of edifice there and prevent me from going up that driveway to my house. So I need to know who owns the land. If you don't want it, and if it's discontinued, I need that certified letter, and I need the date of issuance of the discontinued.
So I was a little confused. I confused you and Joe, so everybody here might not be ready for this. So this is Greenhoe Road?
Yes.
Up off Miller Road.
Right.
You live at the top of Greenhoe Road. Eliza and her sister live further down.
Yes.
And they own the property that the road runs through until it gets to wherever your property line is. Whatever. So the road hasn't been discontinued.
Okay.
So all of that is a non-player.
Good. That's great news for me.
I'm looking here, I was listening to the entire time. So there was an article in the Views after you and I had this discussion last year that covered it, that I had written about what the rules are according to what we had known and what our road foreman knows, and again, the same research you had.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a road expert by any stretch.
Nor am I.
So my understanding is, and there's people here who know about roads, Paul also knows about roads, the right of way through the road is through the property is for the road. The property itself is still owned by the landowner. They just have given a right of way to the town. So as an example, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I own half of Mill Road, because I live on Mill Road, right? But that 25 feet either side of center line, I've just given a right of way to the town. The land under it is still my land. Same thing with the person on the opposite side of the road, right? So for the road, and you and I have gone through this before, you use the term driveway, but it's not. It's a town road.
Okay.
Your driveway is where you turn into your house.
Okay.
Right? So this is a town road. And there's a right of way. And I know on one side, I've driven up there. In fact, I was just up there last weekend to take a look. I know on one side there's a rock wall. I don't know which side that is, the north, east, whatever.
West.
The right side is you're driving up it.
Oh, the right side is there's some ledge there, but there's a stone fence about 30 feet to the east.
Yeah, it's
and
quite a
there's a
ways.
stone fence almost 20 feet to the west and 30 feet to the east side.
Right.
Yeah.
So, as far as my understanding, and again, I'll go back and I was trying to pull up the article because I can't remember all this. The trees, well, I'll use what I know. If I own a tree on my property that's leaning over the road and it's a danger to the road and blocking the road, the town can come cut it down. Lee will come let me know, and they'll take it down and get rid of it, so it doesn't fall into the road and block the road. That, I think, is the standard across almost all of our class roads. But trees that are on the property to the right or left of the road belong to the landowner.
Okay, and I understand, I agree with you, but it goes further than that. According to the Vermont statute and my conversation with the state's attorney general, if the trees over the road canopy the road, then I'm entitled to cut that tree down so that the snow, because I have to plow that road 3 and 4 times because I'll plow it, then all the snow that's in the boughs falls down, then I have to plow it again, and then wind comes and then I have to plow it yet again. The town could have absolved all of this if they'd kept their word with Shorty and Ernest Chamberlain, and they were gonna maintain that road up to their turnaround, but they never did.
The turnarounds at the, it's
This is where I had it paved so that the town could more easily turn around should they choose to do that. But I don't know how we're gonna resolve this, but there's a lot, you notice, there's quite a bit of canopy there, and that snow just continually falls down, requiring me to plow that road over and over and over again.
So that road is
Are you
class,
plowing the town road?
Yeah, because the town won't do it, and they told me when I got that building permit that they would maintain it, to which he asked, you have that in writing. I don't know if you knew Ernest Chamberlain or Shorty, but
oh, I know Paul knows Shorty. Let's see, Dummerston Town
I
Center.
know Shorty very well.
he passed away a number of years ago.
Yeah, and it probably wasn't Ernest Chamberlain, it would have been,
Town Center.
it would have been.
Ken. I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
Ernest was his son.
No,
Ken
I don't want to go on Middle Road, I want to go on East West Road, right? The Middle Road, Miller Road, sorry.
Up Miller Road,
Up
right.
Miller
Used to
Road.
go up through and connect with
Almost
That's
the end
the
of
old
Miller Road,
His
almost
road-
the end of
his
it.
road runs into the
So
fire.
that's what I was told when I bought it from Shorty and Ernest, Ken, that that's the old town road from Brattleboro.
If you, Bunker Road.
No, that was down by the river.
It's too far out.
So they told me, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I didn't know, but
Yeah.
is that where you were, where the road comes up and goes up to Sun Hill?
Well, Greenwood
Correct.
continues down.
And Napa used to have the farm.
I bought my property from him.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
It's not even
If
listed.
it could address what, I'm sorry.
3 by
Can you
8
find it there?
Green Road,
It's really hard to see.
GR, well,
Yeah, it's right at the edge.
Yeah.
No, it is right, it's
Was it reclassified? Is that road reclassified? Is it-
I mean, that's since I've been here, so I can't tell off the map.
I didn't know we had class 3 or 3 class 2 now.
I don't think it's
Not a
class
class 2,
2.
and then a class 3.
But I'll have to
it was
figure out.
class 4 when I bought the property, at least that's how it was presented to me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, class 4 is like the road we threw up last year in West Dummerston, and the town, those roads don't have to be maintained for year-round traffic. It's not a
On
requirement.
mine, yeah.
So if it's still a class 4, then the town wouldn't plow it. So,
All well and good,
right,
but I do plow it.
sure.
And I have been doing it for almost 50 years, which according to the Vermont statute gives me adverse possession of the property because you cannot restrict my usage of it because nobody has said anything to me all these 45 years. I just want to be able to trim down the saplings and any trees that are leaning and it has more than the 30% canopy. I can either call Renault, you can come in and do it, or I'll take a chainsaw and do it myself, but those trees have to come down. They're killing me. And I'm not, when I was younger, I didn't care about this stuff, but I can't do it anymore.
All right. I can't find all my background information on this, but I did it somewhere. And we'll look at it.
Seems like you have to determine whether it's a class 4 or not.
Well, I mean, obviously if it's class 4, the town doesn't have to maintain it as far as plowing is concerned.
No, town's not required to maintain class 4 road.
Right.
At all.
At all.
Yeah, culverts.
It's just like the one by the runs by
I
your
think we have
house.
to do culverts.
What's the one down at your house right
Right.
there that's blocked off in the winter?
Nurse Hollow.
North Hollow, it's the same
Well,
as
that's a
North Hollow.
class 3.
Was that a 3?
Yeah.
I mean, I can quote verbatim my conversation with Shorty and Ernest. And Shorty, because I knew him from Brown and Roberts, said, you know, we haven't had any young people move into this town in the longest time. We'll give you a building permit and we'll help you maintain that road if you'll just build a house within a year. And I did. But you asked, do you have that in writing? And I don't. And I would have no reason to lie about that. I can tell you this, some 30 years ago at the Apple Pie Festival, angry because the town has done nothing to help me at all in maintaining their road, I baked an apple pie that I wound up having to throw away because it was so terrible. I put it on a table, I put it in front of the church here, and I put $950. The proceeds to help town keep their promise to me to maintain the road. The very next day, I couldn't get up my driveway because somebody had dumped an entire truckload of Sure-Pack at the bottom of my driveway. So they maintained my road. So at 40 years of age, I had to hand shovel that whole 3 yards of gravel. And you're in the business, you know that's not exactly easy to do. But that indicated to me that they knew that they had some responsibility. They didn't appreciate my way of trying to get them to call attention to them to keep their word, but nonetheless, they shouldn't have dumped that there because it indicates that they knew they were in the wrong. And this is all before probably any of you were born, but I'm just trying to tell, and I have no reason to lie about this. I just want to maintain either side of that driveway to the extent that I don't have to keep plowing it after every snowstorm 2 and 3 times because the snow keeps falling.
Right.
Need to survey, you need to survey that line or sort of?
I have a picture of the survey right here. The town's already done it.
I don't think in the end that that's gonna matter. Because again, the property on either side of the road does not belong.
It doesn't matter. All I want to do is maintain on either side of the road. And she won't let me because she says she owns it. I don't think she does. I think if you own the road, you then have a rod and a half on either side. And you can go back to
You meaning the town?
the town.
Oh, from the center line.
From the center.
From the center line.
The right of way.
So that would take me all the way to the stone fence on the west side and almost to the stone fence on the east side. And which also begs the question, who gave Green Mountain Power the permission to put those power lines in if they don't, if the town doesn't own the road or the right of way, the rod length width either side. And those power lines were put in before I built my house because that's the old power line to Knopper's old place. I'm just telling, these are the things that my attorney said to bring up because if we can't come to some resolution, then it's going to cost me a boatload of money. I just want to get this resolved.
Well, I don't think that we can make a decision without a conversation with Lee and the other property owner.
Right.
Who is Lee?
Chamberlain, the road foreman.
Oh, okay.
I've talked to both when this came up last year, just to figure out which is what was built into. Which I'll find again. We will put it on the agenda for next week.
Okay.
It's Green Hoe Road. It's been on the agenda before. And in 2 weeks we will have, and again, the decision, I mean, the position you're in is, our decision maybe it's fine the way it is and you can't cut trees down.
Yeah.
Right, so at that point it's up to you.
Well, yeah, so my attorney said I have 3 choices. I sue the town for the value of my house. I sue Liza, or I cut him down and let you folks sue me. which is probably the road I would take. I want this resolved once and for all, because I can't have my house looking like this. If others choose not to maintain their property and want it to look like a pigsty, that's fine, but I want my place to look nice.
All right. Any other questions?
No, just that I need to, I would appreciate it if you would, forward me, a letter stating what decisions you come to next week and what rights I do have, or what course of action I would probably be suggested that I take. Not that you would make me take it, but I need to know where I stand.
All right, we'll consider that. I don't think we'll give you courses of action. That's going to be up to you.
No, correct.
We'll give you what we think is the rules
Mhm.
and guidance based on same stuff you've looked at,
Mhm.
and go from there.
Okay, so you want to definitely look up the Vermont, it's called me the Okemo Doctrine. You definitely want to read that. And
Yeah, I think I
since
read
my
it last
attorney
year.
wrote it,
Right.
he says it's a no-brainer. But I will advise you.
So I have one more question.
Yeah.
Is your driveway directly off of Green Hill Road?
My driveway directly.
Yeah, you get to the top of Green Hill Road. So Putney discontinued the road north of your house. So as you drive up
Yeah,
Green Hill
and
Road-
that brings up, I don't know the answer, I guess it does.
Yeah, you-
I know my deed says that on the south side of that stone fence, the deed says all the way to where there's a series of old sycamore trees, that I own that section. I also believe I own the road that goes up north to where my northern stone wall would come down. I don't maintain that. I leave that open for hikers and deer hunters and people who like to ride their mountain bikes. I've always left it open. I've never put a berm there or anything to prevent people. You were up there, so you know that there is an old oak tree that fell down. I called the Green Mountain Power and alerted it to them, and they said they don't care. It's just a phone line. There is one thing though that I shouldn't probably bring this up because it's going to come back to bite me, but one thing that Liza said is, you should never have used this driveway. You should have come in from Sun Road. And I said,
Where's Sun Road, the north?
yeah,
It's in Putney.
It's in
it's in
Putney.
Putney.
So
And
you
I
have to
said,
drive all
well,
the way to Putney and come around?
come all the way to Putney, come around, and, I have, 45, 50 grand into this road that I've, used of my own money. But I do some drywall and tile work, and a number of years ago, I did some work for an old attorney by the name of Carpenter who lived over in Putney. I don't think he's still alive. Did you know him, Mr. Carpenter, the attorney?
No, I never.
But he called me and said, I know you have a driveway, and I'm only doing this because I like the work you did for me, and you didn't charge much, so I'm giving you this free of advice. But when they built that house for their in-laws, they built it right on the old road. You have the right to make them take that down if you choose to come in that way. And I'm like, who's going to make somebody take a house down? I already had a driveway, but I guess I'm just saying this to let you know that I'm trying to work with what I have and with whom I have to work with, but I'm not trying to be a jerk here. I just want to maintain either side of that access road to my property.
All right.
Okay.
If everybody next 2 weeks
I think this calls for Scott. You want to do it?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Go on the road and hang a left on Green Hill Road.
Yeah, just, do you have my number? I'll give you my number.
And then the road pretty much ends at your driveway because the.
So my number is 802-380-1394. So I'm fully retired and I've just, bought an excavator and I'm on my property 8 hours a day just trying to
Move dirt.
move dirt, move rocks. People ask me what I grow on that property.
That's a
I say,
business
I
job in
grow,
Vermont.
I'll tell you, I have rocks like you wouldn't believe.
That's Vermont's best crop.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Yep. All right, now with the real Joe. Step up and take it. You took all your time, so you have 5 minutes. Okay.
Thanks for having me. I first of all just want to commend all of you for your service to the town. I chaired the high school board about 25 years ago, and I served on this board about 10 years ago. And I must tell you, the amount of work you do, versus the school board, it's like night and day, especially come budget time. So thank you all. For those of you that don't know me, just a little bit by way of background here. I was an economics major in college. I worked at what is now TD Bank for 18 years, running the trust office, helping folks with their investments. And then I went to law school when I was 40, and then I practiced law in town for 21 years and happily retired for 6 years now. The reason I'm here is because last year at town meeting, I was looking at the town report, and I got my phone out and I crunched the numbers to see how much money we were making on our investments. And I was kind of struck by how little it was. I've got a sense for where interest rates are. And I didn't really make it a priority, but finally after about 6 months, I got in touch with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and I spoke with their executive director for some guidance, and he said he couldn't really, they can't really speak with folks like me, but they can speak with folks like you. And I think they're a tremendous resource, and I would encourage any further contact with them. Met with Chris Brown, actually it was about 6 months ago, talked with him about how the town's funds are invested, and I've crunched the numbers, and as near as I can tell, we're getting, I don't know, maybe 1.3% on our funds, which are something like $1 million. And I think what the market is right now is about 4.3%. So really, the town is leaving something like $30,000 on the table. And I think it's your responsibility to make those funds work harder. I think you have an obligation to the taxpayers. I'm not here to tell you how to invest the funds. I'm here to hopefully give you some more options so that you and your successors have more options. So I made a...
So real quick, I want to interject a question.
Sure.
Just quick. When you say town funds, what do you mean by that phrase?
Well, I'm talking about the capital fund. I'm talking about the restricted funds. I'm talking about all the cash that the treasurer oversees and manages.
All right.
And he told me it was on the order of $1 million, and I've heard that number before.
All right.
And since. So one thing that was interesting that Chris gave me was the current investment policy. And it was sort of funny, I actually looked up the minutes of the meeting when it was adopted. My name is on it, and I drafted it. I sort of forgot, but I'm sure that this came from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, because I'm not that clever. So, but it's pretty restrictive. About all you can invest in is bank accounts insured by the FDIC and treasury bills. So there is a little bit of a confusion there, but you can invest in those things. And it goes on to say that investment in local institutions is preferred. Throughout all of these documents, I think you're going to see that there's an order of priority, if you will. Safety is the utmost concern, and I think that's why the town's funds are all invested, with a local bank, where it is insured by the FDIC. I'm certainly not going to suggest anything that is less safe. I think there are some alternatives other than bank accounts that you might want to consider. One of the things that really surprised me when I was researching this is the statute that talks about this. I mean, I always thought that these decisions are up to the treasurer, the elected treasurer. They're not, okay? Town funds may be invested by the town treasurer with the approval of the select board. These are your decisions ultimately. Last thing I want to do is create any animosity between you and the town treasurer.
I want to be careful there, just me speaking. And this will come across in a lot, I've read all these.
Sure.
Looked into it. A lot of the stuff that's in here from the Vermont statutes,
Mhm.
VLCT, is what is allowed,
Yeah,
not what is directed. So the town treasurer is elected. He may invest on the advice of the select board, but he may not, right? He makes his own decisions. He's the money person. We don't tell him, you must do this. He doesn't have to do that.
again, the statute says with the approval of the select board.
He may, with the approval of the select board.
Okay, well,
Right, so obviously I would think the treasurer is not gonna go do something without asking us. But
right.
at the same time, we can't tell him to do it because his responsibility is the financial reports
Mhm.
and the security of the money. So I just
Yeah.
wanna kind of draw a line there between the idea that we're gonna tell Chris what to do.
I didn't mean to suggest that, and I've said to Chris all along, I want to work with you on these matters.
Sure.
Okay. The statutes go on to talk about how permissible investments are bank accounts insured by the FDIC, treasury obligations, and money market mutual funds. Goes on to say that investment in banks located in Vermont is encouraged. I just skipped over, the number one most important thing is safety. Okay. Second one, and you'll see this is yield. Okay.
That's third.
No.
Second is liquidity.
Well,
Yield is third.
Okay. Well, then maybe fourth is local investment. Okay. So after I spoke with the league, oh, and by the way, he said that they have a municipal resource officer that was coming on board. So that is somebody you might want to consult with. My next step was I called the town of Brattleboro to find out how they're handling things, and I didn't get very far with them because they weren't even aware of the Vermont League of Cities and Towns policy. So I thought, well, I might as well go to Burlington and see what they're doing up there. They weren't especially responsive, and I kind of understand. I mean, why would they want to be talking to somebody from Brattleboro, from Dummerston? But I eventually did get their policy. Interestingly, they're not invested locally. They're in government bonds, federal government bonds, but they are considering adopting the policy that I'm going to encourage you to adopt as well. That is to say, the Vermont League of Cities and Towns model investment policy. Important to remember that if you do adopt that, you can leave things right. And you and the treasurer can leave things right where they are, okay? Because, bank accounts are authorized investments there. But again, we'll have other options. In the material, I also have, something from Claremont Savings Bank, that says that they're paying 3.83%. There are banks that I see advertising that are paying, upwards of 4%. Big banks. I'm not sure whether they would be willing to collateralize their the funds in excess of $250,000, given that the town is a relatively small player with respect to big banks. Now, I've got some material that I gave you concerning the Vanguard Treasury money market account. And I chose that one. I will tell you, he would kill you he would kill me if he knew I was telling you this. Our son helps manage the state's pension plan, so he's up on these things. And when I mentioned Vanguard, and my own accounts are with Vanguard, he said, "Dad," he said, "Vanguard is the Walmart of investing." And that is, their rates are, they're huge, but their charges are very low, their expenses, if you will. very low. So that's why, that's one of the reasons they're so attractive. The fund that I would suggest, 80% of it is in treasury bills. The balance is in other repurchase agreements that are backed by treasury obligations. I point out that it's not insured by the FDIC. That's in the prospectus. I got 2 prospectuses. I gave one to Chris. I have another one I'd be glad to give any of you if you want it. But the fund is now yielding 4.27%. Again, 3% more than the town, I think, about the town is earning right now on its funds.
Which one is that?
It's called the Vanguard Treasury Money Market Fund.
Does it have a symbol?
It's a VUSXX.
Oh, that's the one we have.
Yes. And it's one of their most conservative funds.
And it is insured, right?
It is not insured by the FDIC. Okay. And it says so in the prospectus.
So real quick, I just like to get things in because I don't remember all those at once. So when you look at the Vanguard Treasury Money Market Fund, it has the word money market in it, but it's not a money market account.
It is a money market account.
It's a money market fund.
Well, you have a money market, you have an account in the fund, yes.
So a money market account with a bank is insured by the FDIC.
Right.
The money market account fund, or money market fund, is not.
Correct.
So I don't want the money market fund and a money market account to get fogged out here.
Okay.
One of them is an investment vehicle. One of them is a place you put your money where you're not going to lose your money.
Well,
So it just real quick. So the Vanguard Treasury Money Market Fund I looked up earlier is at 1.01% this quarter. Because of whatever events are going on in the world, like them or not, it's a fund that could lose money.
well, when you say 1.01, that's how much it's earned year to date, okay?
Sure.
Its current yield, the SEC yield, is, and I just looked it up, it's over 4%.
Right. For
Correct. Okay. And by the way, the investments in the fund, on the average maturity is 32 days. So if rates go up, it's going to go up.
And if rates go down,
The rate will go down, okay, but the value will stay the same. The value is at $1, okay, and it's never going to change.
Paul and I have had this discussion. You can't say never. So
Well,
I guess, so before we finish, because a lot of stuff's in what you sent us. So a couple things that I would ask is, I'm discounting Burlington completely. You can read this, they have a person who's hired to manage their investment portfolio. They have an investment portfolio as a city that's something we don't have.
right, I understand.
Right,
I'm not suggesting that.
they have buildings, they have real estate, they have rent.
sure.
So they have somebody who's trying to manage an investment fund. We don't have that. So
Right.
Burlington stuff I'm gonna kind of throw to the side for
Yeah.
a minute.
I think that's the least important that I gave you.
Yep. My concern that you brought this up, you now open a can of worms. Because the Vanguard Fund, where we've got something in, what's the Miller Fund invested in?
I'm
No, that's a cemetery fund, you've got Putnam Investment.
I'm responsible for that, okay? I was.
But you don't,
Well, it's a
you don't
stock
confess to
fund,
anything.
it's a
All I'm
stock
saying
fund.
is that the Vanguard Fund, which I think we have something in, and we've got some stuff in the private fund. I think there's 2 funds that we have things in. Neither one of those meet the town policy that was signed by you.
Well,
Not you, but the select board at the time.
No, there were 2 policies adopted, okay? That one is the public funds policy, okay, and I think I have that with me.
Dummerston
Okay.
policy?
Right, and it does authorize, that's a mutual fund, okay, that's not a money market fund,
Right.
okay? It's, I encourage the town to invest, I was suggesting more than half of the Miller Fund be invested in the Vanguard S&P 500 fund, okay, and they put half of the account in it, and it's done very well over the last 10 years.
It has done well. I'm not questioning that. So you didn't include in your package the policy that you're just talking about, the public fund policy. The investment policy you gave
Okay,
us.
Chris gave it to me, and I have it here.
But so I guess what I'm asking you from your position of this, is show me where it says we can invest in a mutual fund. Because this policy does not allow it.
Okay, I have it here, okay. I have, it's the town investment, it's the public, trustee of public funds policy, it's right here.
And that's a town policy?
Yeah.
And what's the difference between that and the investment policy?
That is, it's different kinds of money, okay? It's the Miller Fund is, it's a perpetual fund. It's not, it's not something that needs, it may be to stay liquid, if you will. It's more like your retirement account where you're holding it in perpetuity for, I must tell you, over time, stocks have done way better than money market accounts and fixed income funds.
Right.
They wouldn't be appropriate for things like the investment of the town funds. They're too risky.
So this document, these categories are no different than what's in this one. Any security, including a revenue obligation issued, insured, or guaranteed by the United States. Well, we know that. That's the third one right here, obligations of the United States government. Municipal bonds or other bonds that are rated. So bonds aren't included in here, but again, it's a secure investment. Repurchase agreements or debt securities of any federally insured. There's a pattern here. Shares of investment company or unit investment trust, which is registered under Federal Investment Company Act of blah, 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 and has net assets of at least $500 million, and deposits in federally insured financial institutions. And then it says that those are the 5 categories, right? Those are basically no different than what's here.
Well, yes, the one, number 4, that's mutual.
So the
funds.
shares of an investment company or unit investment trust, a trust, okay? So I don't understand that, which is registered under the Federal Investment Company Act of 1940 as amended. If such a mutual investment fund has been in operation for at least 10 years, and has net assets of $500 million. So I don't know what a mutual investment fund is, and if that's a mutual fund.
Yes. By the way, that also came from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns.
Right.
And I don't need that back, but that is the town policy.
It's one of them, right?
Yes.
Obviously, there's another one.
Okay, but I don't want there to be any confusion as to the two, because that again is for public funds. And the policy that I'm hoping that you adopt talks about that distinction right at the top. This is not public funds we're talking about here.
That one. Or this one. You talking about the investment policy or?
The investment policy makes it clear at the top that it does not apply to public funds.
Didn't we have a conversation with Chris Brown, the treasurer?
Yeah.
And he was very adamant
Yeah.
that we could not invest town money.
That's his position.
And that was his position.
Yep.
That's right here.
So what's public, when you say public money? What's public
We're
money?
talking about restricted funds only, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about restricted funds. I'm talking about the capital funds. I'm talking about money that the town has to maintain to stay liquid. Okay, all the money that's in the bank right now is what I'm talking about.
Wait, I just want to know when you say public funds, what are public funds? Restricted funds and capital fund, or general fund, highway fund?
All of those.
All right.
Yeah.
So I would. So again, I've had many conversations with people in this room. As far as I'm concerned, the general fund and the highway fund are off the table. Those have to be liquid. They have to be available. They're not going to be locked up in anything.
Well, I'm not talking about locking anything up.
Right. So, well, if you're talking about investing them somewhere,
Well,
it needs to be liquid,
Yeah.
and it needs to be the value it is at a minimum that we agree. I think we
absolutely.
agree on that. So,
Yep.
so we're looking at capital funds, and we're looking possibly, and at restricted funds. So these balances that are sitting there, because the idea being that, as happened this year, instead of giving $7,000 to the cemetery fund, they looked at their balance sheet and said, "We've got plenty of money.
Mhm.
Don't give us don't give us $7,000.
And if we need to use any of those funds, we'll have a long period of time to know ahead of time. We won't need to write a
Right,
check in a week.
right. And so being able to not put $7,000 in the farmland protection fund every year, or not being able to put $7,000 or half or two in the cemetery fund will reduce taxes, obviously. So those things are something to look at. My gut feeling is I think there's vehicles that could be used that can earn more money that aren't subject to market changes. So 6-month CDs
Well, and I would tell
that
you,
are insured.
I would tell you that the Vanguard fund that I pointed out, I would not say is subject to market changes with respect to the the value. Okay, the yield, both with that and for that matter, the bank account it's in right now, yields fluctuate with interest rates. I just looked at. Followed what happened with the Fed's decision today, and they've left rates where they are. Before I forget, the investment policy I'm suggesting you adopt says this policy does not apply to trust funds held by the town of Dummerston, and that's like the Miller Fund. That is a trust fund, and you are the trustees of public funds because there is no separate body.
But isn't the Miller Fund already invested?
Yes, it is, okay, but I'm just saying, I'm not suggesting anything be done differently with that, okay? But I just want to make sure we all understand the difference between the Miller Fund and, the operating funds of the town, if you will, okay?
Right, so restricted funds, the Miller Fund, the Prospect Hill Fund, which isn't our money anyway.
Yeah, well, actually, half of the Miller Fund is in a money market account at earning like 1.3%.
Right.
Okay, and I think it could do a lot more. I think it could do a lot better than that. Again, this policy that I'm suggesting you adopt. You can. Oh well, one thing that Chris seems to really like. He didn't want to hear anything other than when I spoke with him. Bank accounts insured by the FDIC. I think what would be really helpful is for Chris or somebody to call all the local towns and say, we've got $1 million to invest. What can you do for us? And you may decide that, some other bank, needs the money more than the current one. But I think it would be a worthwhile. Conversation.
And how would this fund, mentions here, so we talked about local investment, and this says here, the trustees are encouraged to invest in financial institutions operating in the state of Vermont and investments within the state that will result in reinvestment in Vermont. How would this be local or invest in Vermont or?
It wouldn't, okay. Yeah, and it's just one of the factors, and I think that with banking now, with multi-state banks, it's really hard to say if we got put $1 million in, I don't know.
A savings account.
Or in
802 credit.
Yeah, 802, for instance, is that going to do anything for local investment? I don't know. It's a little bit tougher if you put it in TD Bank, where you've got, banks operating in so many states. Is it going to have any effect? I don't know. Okay. I think that the extra $30,000 that could be gained by doing what I suggested, would be, I think that would be more important than the opportunity to have things invested locally. When I was on this board, come budget time, we had long discussions about amounts much smaller than $30,000. That's really all I'm suggesting is that you adopt the league's policy. I managed to get the date wrong on what I gave to you. But I have it in Microsoft Word, and I changed the date to today, okay? Again, nothing has to change, after you adopt this. This is a more recent, it came out of the League of Cities and Towns. Really like them, and that they have, a lot of, very professional staff on board. This is thoroughly vetted. You can keep things right the way they are.
Are you talking the 4-page one that you added?
Yeah.
It's a little different than the template that's a page and a half. Right?
Well, that's more of a summary, if you will. Okay. Yeah.
Sure. But there are things in yours that are not in the VLCT. You've added various vehicles, you've added types of investments that are.
No, I didn't make any changes at all. No. The only changes I made were I cited the adoption of the trustee of public funds. I changed the date, and then I plugged in the name of the town. But in all other respects, it's strictly the leagues.
Well, look, I mean, your 9 things listed that are permissible in this policy is not listed in the VLCT model. Commercial paper, investment grade obligations,
I wouldn't have made that up.
bank acceptances, yeah. It just doesn't, because you included the model investment policy right before this. Which, as you said, I think ours is based on. Also. Right, so your samples is, well, this one doesn't have a date on it. So you've added objectives, right?
No, I didn't make any additions or deletions to the league's policy.
And then this sample is the league's, the one before it was just, like you said, a summary version.
Yeah.
All right.
And what I'd like to leave you with is the one, and I have this in Microsoft Word. If you decide to adopt it subsequently, you can change the date. I have the Vanguard prospectus. I'd be glad to give you. And I don't need to hang around for you to decide what you want to do with this. But again, I just wanted this to.
All right. Excellent.
Do you have any other questions?
Questions?
Was Chris invited to participate in this tonight?
Chris asked if we wanted him here. I'm pretty clear what Chris's position is. I think everybody here is pretty clear.
Oh,
So he
okay.
didn't need to be here.
Yeah, I was quite honestly, I was a little surprised he wasn't here, but
No, he asked me if I needed to be here, and I told him no.
yeah.
I know his position. He sent out, he wrote up quite a bit when you came in last summer. So I know his position, and I've talked to him. So
Okay.
his position is pretty clear.
I actually wrote a letter to Chris a couple of weeks ago, after I went through the town report, and he did not respond, so.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for your
Sure,
time.
okay.
All right. Award truck bid. Truck and lead. It's in one of those folders. He wants to do a fake score, which is like a more expensive one. I think by $126. He likes it because that's
a highway report? No.
I don't think it's in the highway report.
I think it's in the
in new business. It's only one sheet in the whole folder, so that's gonna be really cool. There it is.
Yes.
That's where we go for service anyway.
Okay.
It's closer. He prefers to go with that. And then he's added on things that have to be done to the body,
Yeah.
which I think will take it up towards the 120, but we'll make some money back on the sale of the existing truck that we get rid of.
This was just the chassis, not the
Just the chassis.
not the dump body or whatever he's
Right.
putting on it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the extra. How much is it for? It's an
They're
extra.
both $56,950 for what's added to the body, but we approved, this is the one we approved for $100,000, correct?
Right.
Right.
And the total is $127,000.
120, and I think the plan is to offset the extra by selling it. We don't know what the sale of the other truck's gonna bring in, so that'll go back into the fund.
So the truck is costing $127,000?
The truck is 70 something,
Yeah, but I mean.
Yeah,
Body addition
in
is
the body-
$56,950.
125-ish, with all the
You
equipment.
need this?
But all that was approved at town meeting was $100,000.
That's what I'm not following.
So we can't approve more than that.
So, truck. This truck ain't gonna show up soon, by the way. So we can approve 100, that was the number?
That
So
town
we
meeting,
can
yeah.
order, so you can order the truck itself,
Right, he can order the truck.
right? There'll be leftover funds from the purchase of the truck.
And you can sell the other truck.
So he'll have 24 left over, and then he sells the other truck for 20. I don't know if it's gonna be 20, he's got 44, so.
But how do you make an approval for $100,000 when you're spending 127?
Right.
No, if the town approved the purchase of up to 100,000, and we purchased one for 70,000, I don't think we get to spend the remaining as we see fit. If we're purchasing the truck for 70,000.
Right.
And we approve up to 100,000
For the truck.
for the
You're
truck.
saying you don't wanna roll the money over to the body part, to the.
I'm saying I don't know if that's what's been approved.
Right,
Well, when the capital plan is $100,000, which is normally the truck or the chassis, plus whatever the body, the dump body that goes on it.
Yeah.
So that's the $100,000.
Yeah.
Now, if he goes and adds a plow, or whatever, as long as he's spent within that $100,000 to outfit the truck,
I see.
then he's all right.
Yeah.
But he's already at 127.
right.
I think the thinking would be, anything you got on the other truck, anything you got for the used truck would reduce the cost.
Right, would reduce the 127, but
Right,
at this point, he'd have to get $27,000 for it.
yeah,
And the likelihood of that happening,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's worth $27,000, it doesn't need to be replaced that quickly. That's the other thing. If we could really make that much money off it used, it was in pretty good shape. That, I mean, I'm just thinking off the top of my head.
Can't imagine you can get 27,000 for a 10-year-old truck that's been used for the town.
Right, what do you wanna do?
Can you use the old body? How's that? You know, the old stuff that went on the old truck.
because I think he's replacing a Dodge with a Ford.
Oh,
So
so
I
it
don't-
probably won't fit.
Right.
Within that 30,000 or whatever it is extra, you could probably keep the plow and the body and just have it retrofitted for the 30,000.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, we can approve the 70,000, but he could have a chassis sitting here and no body.
Yeah, nothing to work with.
Or we have to have another special town meeting to approve an additional $27,000.
Right.
well, 7,000.
Or whatever
Whatever
the difference is
yeah.
between, right.
So we're still back to the same point. We've got 100, for, we'll call it the truck, divided into parts. So he buys one for 70, a chassis. Weird words.
I don't understand why you can't retrofit. It's just a chassis.
He could,
And
very
he's,
well.
and he's got 30 left over
Yeah,
to retrofit, to work on the body part, etc., and whatever he sells the other truck for. I won't make any assumptions what he's gonna sell it for.
Well, he can't pull it, well, if he pulls the body and the plow off the truck that he's getting rid of, then he's definitely not gonna get the 27,000 for it.
But maybe reusing some parts in the long run would be a greater benefit than what you can get for secondhand.
So
If you don't have to buy that other stuff brand new, maybe it's worth more than selling that stuff.
So his marching
I'm not
orders,
sure.
he's got 70, he's got 100, plus whatever he sells the other truck for, to outfit the new one. If he can't do that,
He did,
Then we have to
he did-
rethink it.
he did. I'm pretty sure it's 100.
I
Do
think
you have
it
the
was.
town report right
Yeah, it's
there?
up to 100.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I do have my time for it.
So I'm surprised that Lee put you in this position because he should know that he's got $100,000 and not leave you in this point.
I thought it was.
Probably should inspect it with the,
Oh, here's
well,
the
I don't know, you know, just,
fire truck, 100,000.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So for tonight, we cannot approve it. We don't have-
Or we can approve the 70.
We can approve it, that doesn't mean Lee's gonna buy the trucks. If he comes back and says, I need 127, it's like, you don't have 127. You've got 30 left over from the 100, plus we can sell the truck for, the other truck.
Right.
So if you sell the other truck for 10, or whatever you sell it for, and I would, obviously he's not gonna sell it before he
So
has
so
a
you
truck.
have to go out and see what he can do,
Right.
Right,
get prices on what he would do for
Right, so if
retrofitting.
he's got 30 plus 10 left, if he's got 40, then he's gotta do it for 40, or he's gonna have to come and ask for something else.
well, we'd have to have a special town meeting.
Yeah. But let's just put it back in his court.
Yeah,
He
I
doesn't have
mean,
one house.
I would imagine you could retrofit for $30,000.
We're gonna find
Could
out.
we, since this, I remember him saying that this is a long process to actually get it, could we just have him come next meeting and talk about this and figure it out then? Because they're
Yeah,
unknowns here.
yeah.
You know, if you
We'll,
wait 2
let's
weeks.
table it till
maybe
next
get-
meeting. I will talk to Lee and ask what his intentions are. And have him bring those intentions to us on the 31st. All right. So we will not vote on that. I'll send Gail to chastise Lee. All right, correspondence. Any questions on any of those items?
So I did go to the VLCT. And
Right.
Very beneficial.
And it was that the select board training or something other than the select board?
It wasn't the select board training, it was basically an introduction.
Yep.
You know, I pulled out
To
some
what they do.
flyers. Right. That's kind of things that they can do.
And you did it online?
No,
Oh, you
I
went
was there.
You went to Montpelier?
Yeah.
Did you have
It
lunch?
was in Montpelier, it was in Broadbrook,
Broadway.
Fire Department.
That's right, okay. Yeah, if you haven't looked at their training, events of training, you can look at them. Again, it's a little hard, sometimes they're during the day for 4 hours, you may not have 4 hours.
Yeah.
Actually, I would have gone this weekend, I think they're doing select board training Saturday in Montpelier. I happen to have somebody coming to town Saturday, so.
But it does look very beneficial.
Yeah, they're great.
Anybody else wants to look on?
All right,
Question on correspondence?
Oh, yeah.
You had a letter from Eric Kruger, and it had something to do with interest rates also. I was just
Uh-huh.
curious what he said.
he said, where's the correspondence from there? The root of it
Correspondence
was,
for discussion?
sure, the root of it was, why aren't you investing in money and earning money, why are you so against this? It was pretty short and sweet.
What we got during the town meeting?
Yeah, he did bring it up at town meeting.
Yeah, it's not this one, it's in,
He was wondering about using it
It's
on
in
the
the file for
capital, on the capital
information.
fund at town meting.
how do you know?
Because it's on the agenda.
God, I hate people that read stuff. So, I don't think the whole one is in this. The first one is, can you please explain why we would not invest locally to earn a return on taxpayer investments? I'm not advocating out-of-state banks or risky securities, please explain why this option is unacceptable to the board, which is not unacceptable to the board, we're looking into it. So also the treasurer allows municipalities to invest in CDs, which we're looking at, savings and loans, FDIC stuff. Those are basically the two, very similar idea.
I'm sorry, I didn't connect with what you said about.
He says we should invest locally and use CDs instead of money market accounts,
Oh.
which is something we're
Because
talking
at town meeting, he brought up the fact that he thought the capital fund was using an erroneous rate of interest. You were using like, 0.16 or something like that
Yep,
going forward. And when current rates are, in the 3 to 4% rate. My reaction would be, you could do that on an annual basis and look at current rates at the time, for the year, and use that to project forward.
Right.
And then next year, rates will be different, so use
Right.
those rates next year.
it's a little hard to use rates in advance, to assume there's any
Yeah.
money there.
Yeah, and you're projecting out 18 months when you're budgeting too.
Right.
That's the other hard
Well, the
thing.
capital plan is actually projecting 10 years.
Right.
Well, yeah, but you would only use that rate that
For the,
for the current
Right.
And you have to figure out how to apply that to what's in there, right? I mean, so basically we have a starting balance, we have money that's put into it to cover that year's worth of purchases, and then we have a balance left over.
Right.
And then that obviously ladders to the next step. So the only money in the capital fund that you'd be investing in theory would be the leftover cash. And the balance, but we've pared down the capital fund with carryover balance. It used to be like 200,000 a year.
Yeah.
We're not anymore. It's like 25,000 in 1 year. So there's not a ton of money there that you want to have locked up anymore. So.
Actually, depending where he invested from, I was just thinking now, you could, even though you're projecting 0.16, I would hope that you'd use the actual amount earned in the capital and put that in
Yes,
your
so
plan.
when you look at whatever the current year is
Yeah,
the actuals.
right. And
Going forward is it's just there as,
It's a guess.
as
Yeah,
our best guess.
yeah.
So, but no, when we actually have the actual, it takes the place of whatever the estimate
It
is.
does go in there as
Yes.
actual.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, so for cameraman and everyone else here, we're gonna go into executive session here for a few minutes. And you can either come back afterwards, which is just gonna be appointment of town positions and views, and may not be interesting, but you're more than welcome to come back. We'll come get you outside.
I'll be gone.
All right, so we don't have to drive.
I'm gonna make a motion that we go into executive session as provided in Vermont statute, Title 1, Chapter 5, subsection 2, 313A, number 3,
Thank you.
to discuss an appointment.
I'll second that.
Can you just focus on that?
Ditto. Tom, you should be able to hear us now again.
Wait, one
So,
second.
hang on.
Now we should be able to.
You should be able to hear us now, Tom.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
So I'll make a motion that we reconvene the meeting and come out of executive session.
I'll second that.
Under business.
Yep, so we're gonna go to new business. So we're gonna do appointments to the open select board seat. I make a motion that we appoint Skip Fletcher to the vacant seat that will last until town meeting of next year.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of appointing Skip Fletcher to the select board seat through town meeting next year, say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All right. Town appointments. All right, let's get ready for the list.
Okay.
Oh, hang on, let me look really quick and make sure I haven't heard anything back from everybody.
Yep,
Nope,
okay.
we are what we are.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to make the following appointments. To the Recreation Board, Margaret Shugart, Will Alderfer, Olivia Sanderrooter, Joanna Langfellner, Adam Paulmanner, Ashley Paulmanner. Lee Chamberlain as road foreman, Lewis White as first constable, Lewis White, inspector of wood and lumber, Harold Newell as fence viewer, and Ruth Barton. Lori Frechette, the delinquent tax collector, Mark Brown, Green Up Day chair. To the cemetery committee, Lee Chamberlain, Priscilla Adler, Eliza Greenhoe-Bird, Cheryl Wilfong, Carol Lynch as a senior solutions representative, Harold Newell and Lou Tyke for the Rescue Inc. representatives, Jack Mannix, Vermont Community Development Program, the listers as the E911 contact, Paul Adler as the Police Advisory Board liaison. For the Social Services Committee, Sandra Campbell, Libby LaFlan, Nancy Pels Walsh, Terry Robinson. David Greenwald to the Conservation Commission, Ruth Barton as Weir of Coal, Michelle Charrier, Wyndham Solid Waste Management District Representative, Alex Wilson for the Energy Committee, and Cammie Elliott to the DRB.
Do we use coal oil?
We might, and we'll be able to weigh it.
Yeah.
I'll second the motion of all those names, which will be in the minutes.
Yes.
Appointed to those positions. Any discussion on those? All right, all those in favor of appointing that legion of town members, say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All right. Spring Views article, I've already started working on it. It's gonna include items in the future agenda items. It's all centered around this weekend. So anything you wanna add or delete or whatever about your area that you've been working on, please feel free to do it. And then we'll get it to him next week. There's always a bit of a time, the deadline's usually a good 6 weeks before it's due, so we can always get it back and do more updates to it. I am now the town health officer.
Okay.
Everybody stay healthy. We'll advertise for it. If anybody you know wants to do it, it's has to be a Dummerston resident. It's not that intrusive at this point. I've been it for, well, I was it for a while, then we had someone else I was it for a while. I handled one dog bite, so crack down on that.
You got that?
No, somebody else got bit. I had to run down a rabies vaccination. There's some other things, the Wyndham Regional Commission, some river stuff. So we'll put together a list of 5 or 6 positions that are open and have Lori send them out to everybody that either the incumbents didn't stay on board or we have been empty for a while. So Tom, look for that. We're looking for you to jump in. Town health officer.
Health officer, I'd be interested.
Okay, we'll talk to you about it then.
Cool.
Thank you for joining us. Let's see, unfinished business. We don't have anything.
One thing that I would like to see if we could do in the future, and that's letters of appreciation to certain people, in the town that basically aren't asked to do it, they just do it on their own.
Right.
I mean, you have people like Maker up the street. She basically picks up trash up and down the road, east-west road, and various roads in town. She's never,
Well, I didn't know that.
Jennifer, she owns the property next to us. And she's always out picking up
It's
trash.
funny when you say, I always consider from town center to the bridge, not east-west road. I know it is. I always only just think of this side. So like east-west road, I've never seen anybody on east-west road.
Yeah.
Well,
That little gray Subaru that's always, parked on the side of the road, she's out there picking up trash.
well, we used to have, we still do, it used to be a little more, the military coins, that you design a coins, like you could design a town coin, like then if you would have a bunch of them, like with you, or so if you saw her, you could give her a coin as appreciation.
Well, even just, a certificate signed by the select board, to people that,
Yeah, just send it to
just
them.
do stuff like that, and it's,
Yeah.
we appreciate you, just let them know.
All right, well, let's keep our eyes out and get people who aren't appointed to do stuff.
Yeah.
And even at the end of the year, people who are appointed to do stuff, thanking them for doing it. I mean, the coal has to be weighed, the fences have to be viewed,
Yeah.
and it doesn't happen by itself. I think that's a very good idea. Our next meeting is the 2nd of April, not April Fool's Day. And you see the future items, which again,
Now that we're done with the budgeting session, could we could even take this on as a project, look at putting out feelers for any volunteers who are interested in a Dummerston food pantry, food shelf? We talked about talking about that with Dummerston Cares.
yeah, I would get together with
You want me to
Dummerston Cares.
research?
Yeah,
That's,
yeah.
we need volunteers and we need all sorts of
Yeah.
donations.
Sounds good, coordinate
Okay,
with them.
I'll see what I can find and I'll bring it to you guys.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else anybody wants to discuss?
All right. I'll bring the website to the conflict of interest.
Just-
to people.
You can just email it, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, or email it to us.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
Second.
second it. Oh,
All right, we're done. Thank you.